If you're making any one of these mistakes at an open house, you are leaving money on the table. You are letting clients slip through the cracks, and we're going to break that down for you so you never have to have that dreaded, oh my God, I wish I wouldn't have done that moment like a lot of us real estate agents have in the past. Today, I'm here with an expert, Alex Sarrazin, out of Canada, and he's going to break down for you, out of his 21 years of experience in crushing real estate. He's a second generation realtor. He's going to break down for you 3 of the biggest mistakes that you might be doing at an open house, how to avoid them, and what you should do instead. Alex, thanks for jumping in.
Isaac, thanks for having me.
Yeah, man. So without any further ado, let's just get down to it, brother. What are some of the things that you see real estate agents are doing that are hurting them? How is it hurting them? And how do we fix it?
So here in our market, we usually our open houses are Sundays 2 to 4. Every
Okay.
market might be different, certainly that. But number one is show up, be
Okay.
intentional. Especially if your market on a Sunday 2 to 4. For those that watch football during football season, it's a sacrifice. So when I say that, and I say to the agents, just you're going there 2 to 4. Make sure that you show up 1:45, a bit before 1:30, maybe even better, and you should stay a bit later, 4:15, 4:30. But when I say show up and be intentional, just the reason of business, or the way that we used to be coaches, open houses is to pick up clients. There's twofold to that. One is you want to sell the property, which you're representing your sellers in the best possible way, showcasing the home. And 2, if you're picking up a client, that would be great, right? But when you're showing up, it's gonna show when people are walking through the house. If I'm just not interested in being there, then you're not going to have very good success. So we always say show up and be intentional with your open house if you're going to sacrifice your Sundays for doing that.
So the intent is I'm here to showcase this house and sell it, but I'm also here to convert people that weren't going to buy this house. Like I'm intentional about why I'm here and how I show up. So this is my opportunity to sell this house. This is also a partial interview for new clients. Is that what you're saying?
Yeah, show up. That's it. And don't be afraid to take control, right? When people are walking through, the first question we ask, are you working with a realtor? Now, US, you guys will have to be asking that too. We have our different rules here in Canada. Every province is different. And we know right away. If it's an agent, we know, we grab the name, right? We always have a feature sheet signing. That would be point number 2. We put in that information and you let them through the house. Somebody else that's coming in and doesn't have a realtor, then, you're going to ask some of those questions. Are you looking? I always ask, how'd you find us, right? If they say they found me on the internet, I know they're looking for this house. If they say they came through the directional signs, maybe not a serious buyer. If they're a neighbor, then they're just being nosy, right? Those are your 3 people. So focus again, and coming back to being intentional on that, saying, by asking those leading questions, you're going to find out very quickly who that person is, right? And being respectful at the same point when you're asking those questions. And then that focuses on how we're going to conduct that showing as well through the house on that.
Okay. So number 2 was having the feature sheet. Is that what you said?
We register people. So sign-in sheet.
Oh, a sign-in sheet. Okay. So registering people. So, and for those of you guys who didn't catch it, what he's saying, and you might be surprised or you might not be surprised, is a lot of real estate agents don't specifically have a registration sheet where they require every single person sign in to capture that information. And so that's a huge mistake if you're not driving registration and controlling that registration process, right? If you're the type of person, the mistake, let me not pick on you as a person, but let me point out this mistake. The mistake is this, and we've all seen this. And if you haven't, go visit more open houses. You'll see it. You'll see it this weekend, where you walk into an open house and the realtor's 30 feet back reading a book. He's talking about not doing that. The mistake is not being intentional and capturing everybody's information. And let's be real, that's confrontational. There's a little bit of friction there when you do that. A lot of agents are afraid of that. Can you give me a quick tip? Let's say I'm an agent and I'm kind of nervous to force everybody to sign in, but I also don't want to make that mistake. Give me some coaching around that, Alex, because you're really good at that.
When somebody comes in, we lock the door after. So what happens is when somebody comes to the open house, we want to control again, right? You are representing your seller at this point.
Wow.
We always tell our sellers, remove all the valuables, right?
Yep.
Go bring your mothers or whatever.
Uh-huh.
It's rare that thefts happen, right? But I always think of protecting the seller. And the reason we lock the door is somebody's going to have to ring. And once we unlock it, that's where the introduction's missed, and that's where these questions could be asked right off the bat.
Mm.
And then before coming in, please register, sign in here, and then I'll take you through homes. Any question you have, I'm here to answer.
Mm.
Come in, take their shoes off, I lock the door again.
Okay. So it's really like making it a formal request for them to enter into the home. In other words, like they have to knock,
Yeah.
they have to have the door opened. So you're immediately already taking control of that entire situation. And
Yeah.
so even though maybe internally I'm scared and kind of nervous about doing something like that, well, now I'm at least have the advantage of, hey, I control whether or not you even see inside the house. I
Yeah.
love that, man.
I have agents that say that. So, oh, I'm kind of shy, right? Well, if somebody comes to your home, the door's locked.
Mm-hmm.
You're going to open
It's
it. Can
true.
I help you? Right. So I just
Yeah.
look at flip it that way. That 2 hours you're in there, again, coming back to being intentional, that house is your house at this point.
Yeah.
And you know it best than anybody else. And anybody coming in, that's usually how I treat people in my house. They don't just come in, right? So
Yeah. It's a private residence. And whether or not it's your private residence is irrelevant. It is a private residence, not a public park.
yeah.
And sometimes open house attendees treat it like it's a public park and they get offended if you ask them to sign in. It's like, this is a private residence.
I had a person come through an open house once and says, I've never seen this. She was mad that she was outside. It was summer, right? I said, well, that's how I conduct. It turned out that I grabbed the listing from her after, right? As I listed her home and sold it, right?
Yeah.
Because she hadn't seen any agent doing that. And she, as much as she was mad because it was a bit hot, she respected the fact that I was respecting the seller's home, right? At that point. So you never know what you're going to get. You might have some pushback, but in the end, you're responsible for that house for those 2 hours.
Oh, yeah.
You got to be intentional and you want to do your job and see if you're going to get business out of it. So be prepared.
Yeah, I've actually applied that in another area of my life, interestingly enough. I'm big on push-ups and laps when I coach kids. Hey, if your water bottle's over here, if you have to go find your mom to get your water bottle during water break, like you are doing push-ups, you're running laps, and the kids, the parents see that. I get complaints every year at the beginning of the season that I'm too tough and too rigid with certain rules, right? Specifically water bottles. Like I'm like, if your water bottle's not there, and you have to ask somebody, or you have to leave the field to go get your water bottle, you're doing push-ups, and I'd have kids crying and all this stuff, dude. I have a massive retention rate for parents getting their kids back on my team. And the reason why is because that same thing. They see the way that you do it, then they see the outcome and they go, wait, hold on. I would like someone to fiercely represent my house like that too and protect my home when I'm listing my house. So that's beautiful that you have that. All right. So number one, show up, be intentional. Number two is make sure that you are doing a specific sign-in process to capture the information and set the tone and set yourself as the person of authority and in control of that interaction. What's the third mistake that
Yeah,
agents are
and once
making?
they
And I don't know.
sign in, the feature sheet's given at that point after, right? It's kind of
Perfect. So
thank you.
we're
Here's your
also
key.
locking up information behind you're successfully giving me your information. Okay,
You
that
feel it's
makes
a
sense.
gift. They've given you something, then we give them something else, right?
Mm-hmm.
Number three is if you're not advertised the week of, meaning if you're not on MLS or your system promoting it on a Monday or Tuesday, you're doing it wrong.
Okay.
You got to be about a week out. Your sign should be going up as well. Your topper on a Thursday night is the best time, right? And some rules, they're different. We can't put directional signs in my city till 24 hours before, right? So MLS, make sure you're advertising it before. You want to drum up that business or those people looking online, right? And statistically, a Monday or Tuesday is where you get the most people clicking. They had a long weekend. They're not happy to be at work. They're going on realtor.com.ca for us or checking out the MLS. So three is to make sure you're advertised a week out to have a successful Sunday open house.
And is there any specific? So obviously, I'm going to put it on the MLS with the details. Am I posting it on Facebook? Like, what are the key things that I got to make sure I'm doing on that?
Yeah. So when we put it on MLS, we just have a flag option there. It says open house. We'll put it in the public remarks as well, indicating there will be an open house that Sunday coming out from 2 to 4. That's the least of it. What we'll do after on Instagram is we'll promote it midweek, saying that there's an open house coming. The day of or the night before, we'll promote it again on social media just to have that content again refreshing within the page to get people out. And then, that's pretty much how we go about it on the social side of it.
Okay, so I let it go live on Thursday. I'm marketing the open house, all this stuff. I get a call
Mhm.
from an agent or a client, potential client. They're like, "Hey, I don't want to wait till the open house. I want to go see it now." How do you handle that? Do you
We
do?
still, yeah, we still allow. We're a bit different. So I'm always on the market live a Monday or Tuesday. That's the
Hmm,
only, if I'm have a new listing, it's that day of the week.
okay.
Statistically, it shows it's the best day to be on. Everybody has their different formula, but that's what we've been doing for a very long time.
Hmm,
20 years probably on that, if maybe a bit less. If an agent wants to get in, yeah, there's no problem on that. But the fact that you're advertising it and somebody wants to get in that quickly, it might promote an offer right away, right?
hmm,
Because they could tell their client after, say, hey, this is a hot house, it's beautiful, they got an open house on the weekend. So we want to make sure that everything's there. In the end, we want to drum up an offer, a good offer, multiple offers as possible, but markets change a bit on that side. But
hmm.
we're open to other agents coming in. Absolutely.
Okay. Awesome. All right. So that you heard it, guys. Those are the three biggest mistakes that we're seeing. So let me flip around that advice, right? One is not being intentional. It's showing up hungover without a specific plan, not knowing how you're going to move people forward, right? For us, we're big on if you can get a showing with a buyer that same day after the open house, if I can show them another property, right? We have a 7x or 700% increased likelihood that we end up converting that person. If I could just get them into another house, right? So being intentional is a big important piece,
Yeah.
showing up, doing the right things. Number two, what I heard the mistake would be is not having a dialed in sign in process wherein I'm forcing myself as the authority. I'm asserting, not necessarily pushing, but I'm asserting myself as the authority, as the gatekeeper to the home and also to that feature sheet, right? Which is the information that they really want to know about. I'm actually leveraging the sign in as the payment for receiving access to the house and details that they definitely want about the house. And then number three, the mistake is, okay, I have an open house on Saturday. I'll just put signs and hope that that drives the traffic there. That's a big mistake, and you can avoid it by actually promoting it throughout the week and kind of giving it and treating it like a real event. You wouldn't do a coat drive or a pie giveaway or a food drive or a client appreciation event without promoting it and just putting signs up and expecting people to find it. So why would you treat an open house any differently?
And most people, buyers, like there's a couple points for number one, for the new agents, I say,
Hmm.
learn the house. If you're just doing an open house for a colleague or you're on a team you don't know, get in there 30, 45 minutes before, figure out what the heat is, figure out what the neighborhood is. Get those. If
Hmm.
you don't have the questions, call your lead, right? Or call the listing agent. Hey, I need this. I think it's so important that when somebody walks in, don't look at your feature sheet. That's for them. You should know your
Hmm.
information. Like that, they say, hey, man, this guy Isaac knows his stuff. I'm
Hmm.
comfortable putting an offer at 410 when he's done through him, right? That's a
Yeah.
good point that I always share on that. As well, number two, coming into the signing, some jurisdictions might be different or you can or not. We've turned people around. If somebody says, I'm not signing or don't want to sign, you're hiding something from me. I'm not interested. You got to go.
Yep.
It's just, and if they say, I don't understand, we'll say, the seller has requested this. Simple as that, right?
Hmm.
And then coming back to the social side of it, when we're advertising ahead, people that are, when we ask them coming in these probing questions, they're finding out, oh, I saw it online. Well, they've been looking all week. So most of the times they're serious buyers. So that information, right? These are always tidbits of information that you want to ask when people are walking in. How'd you hear about the open house or how'd you find us?
Yeah.
Right? Right. It cuts down the time of how much time you're going to spend or waste with that individual walking through the house. Right. And don't be
Yeah.
scared to limit your showings to 5 minutes. Out you go. I think it's better to have 5 qualified buyers walking through than having 50 people, right? That's being intentional with your time.
Absolutely. Well, I really appreciate you giving us some insight into that, man, and helping us break down that because, there's a lot of different ways to run open houses, but no matter which way you learn, no matter which way the script you were taught goes, these are things that you can absolutely apply and use as a non-negotiable. It should be non-negotiable that you show up ready with intent, knowing exactly what you're going to say, knowing the property, understanding what the value of this property is, what the key features are, the reason why someone would buy that, right? The details of that. In addition to that, it should be a non-negotiable that you are signing people in, being assertive, understanding that you are the professional, that that is a private residence, not a public park, and they don't deserve access simply because they exist, but simply because they comply. That's why they get access. And then third, non-negotiable is, hey, you got to make sure that you are marketing this like you would market anything else, any big event. Don't treat it as just another open house, but treat it as the event that you're going to use for marketing and for generating business, because that $3.5 million buyer out of nowhere that just happened to be in the neighborhood visiting their brother-in-law just wanted to stop by, was impressed with you, and all of a sudden wants to buy a luxury property across town. Like, they're there. And here's what they're looking for. They're looking for somebody who's intentional, right? They're looking for somebody who's assertive, who can help navigate through different challenges, right? Guess who I'm never going to use as a real estate agent or any professional? The person who's spineless and backs down from me, because I know they won't represent my interests at a high level, right? They'll always just shrink. And that's what they're looking for. So if you don't show up that way, you shouldn't expect to convert. Alex, I appreciate you, man. If somebody wanted to learn more about how they can learn from you directly, maybe possibly partner with you at the brokerage LPT. I know you're part of that brokerage. We absolutely love it. Partner with you in a different way and just pick your brain. How can they get in touch with you?
So two ways, Alex at alexsarrazin.com. And as well, a number would be 613-298-1166. Call me or text me. I'm there 24 hours a day.
Awesome. Sounds good, brother. Really appreciate you. I'm going to let you get back to it. And everybody who's
Thanks, Isaac.
watching, until next time, keep crushing it in real estate.